Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your photos live before the stream starts, and then I edit them here for you in real time. And the idea here being is not to critique or judge the photos in any way, but simply to show you the editing tools in DxO Photolab 9, which I'll be editing in, and my editing workflow, which generally can apply to any photo editor software that you use. But DxO is my editor of choice. It's how I edit 99% of my photos, and I think it does a terrific job. It has certain technologies, but I do want to mention I am an affiliate for DxO, so I have my affiliate links down below if you'd like to download and give DxO a try or purchase it. I do have a 20% discount code through July 15th for first-time buyers for DxO. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, that's going to be probably the best deal until maybe Black Friday. But no reason to wait. Really, I would just get DxO Photolab 9. It's a terrific photo editing software, as you'll see. And it's good to see you here, John and Paul and Larry. Good morning, everyone. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And hopefully all my buttons and panels work today. Oh, I still haven't straightened this area out yet, but I think I can just turn it. Just move the camera a little. There we go. Oh, sorry. One more thing I like to do is I like to make the fonts a little bigger while you guys are watching. So let me do that real quick. And that should do it. That way you can see a little better what's going on. Okay, so we'll start here. One from William. And we have a nice close-up of, looks like a duck of some sort. And I'm going to hit the F9 key to bring my panels out. And first thing I like to do in my workflow is optical corrections through the DxO optics modules, which is one of their core technologies. The denoising to start, and then some basic sharpening. These are things I do to every image when I start. And I've created a preset, which if you go to my website, robtrek.com/ or yeah, just go to robtrek.com and look under, I'll just show you where it is. If I can pull it up. So you just go over here to downloads and DxO presets. Now I have 3 of them here. My default preset, which works on 99% of the images. This one's a little extra detail. This is ideal for images that you've been able to fill the frame, sort of like the one we're about to edit. So I'll probably use this one. And then I have one designed specifically for high-res shot mode. Now I've tuned this for OM System high-res shot mode and Olympus high-res shot mode, but I'm sure it'll work just as well on other high-resolution images. We're talking 50, 60, 70, whatever megapixels, 100 megapixels. This preset should work really well. So that said, let's go ahead and do that first. So I'm going to apply the extra sharp preset that I have. And you can see that cleans it up really nicely right there. Now, the next thing I look at is the overall composition and exposure. So this is pretty much, we filled the frame with the image. I don't know if I need to do any kind of cropping or straightening horizons. And then the exposure is just a little bit underexposed for my taste. As I can see in the EXIF data over here, it was underexposed by 1 EV. So I assume, yeah, you're an aperture priority. And that's fine. You have about 2 stops of wiggle room with the OM System RAW files. And really, I wouldn't go beyond 2 stops for any camera system if I don't have to. It's best to expose the image, properly to your liking. when you in camera, is what I'm trying to say. So what I might do is just brighten this back up, and I'm going to bring it up back to 1 stop. So if William had just not dialed in exposure comp, this is what this would look like. I'm sorry, I got to disconnect this. And Paul, when you come in, let me know when you come in. Paul Crisp, that is. So I got this infrared sensor I wanted to show you because I know you asked me about it last week. Okay. So next I'm going to try and brighten the eye and then add a little bit of color. Maybe desaturate this a little bit because it is kind of distracting to the main subject here. But let me go ahead and just start with the eye. And I like to use control points for that. And I'll just push the shadows first until it gets to about a level I feel shows the color pretty well. And then I'm going to add clear view to just make the eye look, you know, kind of glossy, right? And then some micro contrast just to try to bring in some of the details and speculars. In fact, I might even add a little bit here. And just expand that out just a little bit. Let me see if I can. Okay, and then sometimes I like to add maybe a little warmth with the white balance and a little bit of vibrancy or saturation just to bring the color out just a little bit more. All right, that looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and let me go ahead and desaturate this area here, and I'll just use a brush. I'm going to set my flow to 100% in opacity because I'm just doing a straight up desaturation. Nothing. I'm not like light painting, which I would have very different settings. So what I'm doing now is I'm using the control. I'm hitting the control key on my keyboard, and then I'm rolling my mouse wheel up and down to change the brush size. So as you can see, I can make it smaller or larger very quickly. And I'm just going to just brush in up here. And we'll go down here, and let's just bring the saturation down. Just so it's not so strong. Okay, and then also I'd like to darken the background overall a little bit. So I'm going to try and use the AI tool. So I'm going to create a new mask, select the AI tool, and see if it'll select the duck. Yeah, it does that very nicely. And then invert it. And then just darken the background. And I like to use selective tone. So I'm going to start with the highlights and then bring in the midtones and then the shadows. And whenever I'm working with these selective tones, I always like to make a straight line. In practice, what this does is it sort of creates a nice S-curve or very natural darkening or brightening of the area that you're trying to adjust. Rather than, you know, just using a simple exposure slider, this does it in a very linear way. And that can look a little unnatural sometimes. So I like to do it using the selective tones. And let me just bring that in. And then time to time, I like to just do a quick compare just to see where I'm at, because sometimes while you're editing it, you don't realize how far you've taken it. You may have gone too far with the editing, but I think we're okay right now. And then the only other thing I might do is just maybe try to accentuate the beak a little bit. It's just a slightly off the focus plane, so it's a little bit softer. But I'm going to try and bring in some details there. So I'm going to use the auto masking brush. Let's create a new mask. And I'm going to make the brush a little larger and just go in here. It doesn't have to be too, you don't have to perfectly highlight the area because, like I said, we're just going to be doing some subtle changes here. So I'm going to add just a little bit on the highlights and midtones. And then maybe crank up the vibrancy. And then let's go into saturation. And I'm going to pull the blacks in just a little bit. And maybe some clear view. There we go. Perfect. The last thing I might do is just add a little bit of a vignette, maybe down in this corner and in the top right corner. So I'm going to just use a control point here and here. And then do the same thing. First, let me try and bring in the blacks and the shadows. A little bit in the midtones. All right, let's do a side by side. And I think that is a lot better, right? Is mainly the exposure was just underexposed by stop, which is fair and generally a good practice when you're shooting white animals against a dark background. That way you make sure you retain the highlight information and detail. And we'll just do a quick split view. And we'll wait for that to render. And the eye is the main area of concentration in this image. And as you can see, you know, we were able to bring out a ton of detail. And again, I did start with my extra detail preset. And the presets are free, by the way. I forgot to mention that if you were wondering. So I think we did okay here. All right, let's go to the next one. And every 2 or 3 images, I like to pause and just answer any questions in the chat section. So if you have any questions about any of the things I've been doing here or any of the tools, I can try and elaborate on that every couple of images. So let me go back to a single view, hit the F9 key to bring my panels back. And so we have a nice, nice set of leaves here. I might crop this part out though, but let me go ahead and apply. I'm going to apply a standard preset here because even though we have filled the frame, the actual detail is very, very small in here. So I'm going to use the default preset that I created for this one, not the extra detail. And I'm going to try and maybe crop in to this corner. I'm not going to be able to do that. I might have to rotate the image. Let me try that. The exposure looks okay. There's a little bit of clipping here, which we can address in some local adjustments, but the exposure looks good overall. Let me try and rotate this. Because when I think about composition, I'm always very conscious of my corners. And I like the corners to, you know, come out of, have a leading line into the corners if I can. So if I were to take this image, you know, in the field, I would have rotated my camera a little bit left or right, you know, when the background doesn't have anything of consequence that would affect that. And then let's try a little bit different ratio. And when I use aspect ratios, I generally like to stick with the standard aspect ratios and not free-handed. Where you have some weird aspect ratios. So 1:1, 5:4, 4:3, 3:2, etc. Because generally those are easier to frame and put into photo albums because there's a lot of photo albums and frames that are built to standard aspect ratios. So this corner is not going to make it up there. I don't think we have enough room underneath. And that's the other thing I do when I compose my images, I try to make sure there's enough negative space around. Maybe there's a lot of negative space up top. Maybe we can go the other way. Not really. I don't think we can. So let's go ahead and stick with the original horizon. And I think a 5x4. Something like this. Will do. So we have a little bit coming in over here. Maybe I can, and I'm just using a shortcut key, the letter R on my keyboard, to bring up the cropping tool right here, rather than clicking on it. Let's bring this over a bit. I might still be able to use this part. It's a little bit distracting. Maybe I'll brush it out. Okay, so let me just do a quick smart lighting. I don't use this too often, but sometimes that'll help. Not in this case. So what I'll probably do is just use some local adjustments to see if I can bring these highlights in. So I'm going to drop the control point right on the brightest part of the leaf. And then, as you can see, it's only masking the brighter areas. And that's controlled by the chroma and lumina selectivity here. So if I want it to be even tighter, I can dial this up some more, or I can back it off where it's going to highlight or mask more areas on a wider luminance range. But I think right at about 50% is fine. And let's see if I can bring in those highlights a bit. Okay, really only on this one leaf. How about up here? We'll just drop another one. Okay, and then I'm going to do a compare here. Okay, I think that's good enough. The main one is this leaf now has some color. So let me go to the global selection here and just see if I can pull in globally a little bit more on the highlights and midtones, because they are a little bit strong. And then I'm going to bring in the blacks and just get rid of that background altogether. Okay, and then let's add some clear view and micro contrast. And I just like to use the auto settings sometimes. Sometimes the clear view is too strong, so you can back it off just a little bit, maybe there. All right, so I'm going to just, I'm going to brighten up this area down here a little bit with a local adjustment. Again, I think a control point will work for this. And we'll click on, let's click on this part here. Maybe in here. And try and bring that up about like that. And then the last thing, I think this image, you know, editing wise, is let's go ahead and select the oranges, but we'll spread that out just a little bit into the reds, a little bit into the greens. And let's crank up the vibrancy a bit, or saturation. Add a little bit of luminance. Okay, good. And I think I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to go over here to the healing brush. And the healing brush tool, when you select it, expands out to the entire original frame. And I'm going to try, I think clone would work best in this scenario, but let's make sure we got 100% opacity. Let me do a little area on repair and see how that looks. Okay, not bad. Let's stick with repair. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Sometimes the repair tool is trying to blend things. Let's try just clone. And I could probably get away with less feathering, but right there. All right, let's turn that off. Okay, and I'm going to go back over here and just globally, I'm going to make some, just going to brighten the image up just a little bit more. And then pull the blacks in. Of course, that blue in the background is pretty nice. So maybe I'll just leave a little bit of blue in there. Okay, still needs to be a little brighter. All right, I think we're done. So let's go ahead and just do a comparison. And let me show without geometry. So we have basically a little bit tighter crop. If anything, I might crop it a little bit more to the right so that there's less negative space here to kind of balance the negative space over here. But then I would have to kind of correct the leaf up here a little bit. So just keep that in mind. I would crop a little bit off the left side a little bit by moving the entire aspect over. But you know, with raw images, generally they're usually a tiny bit less saturated, less contrast than say a processed image. And that's, you know, that's the way it is with raw images. So whenever I'm editing, I like to just add that contrast and saturation back in. And then of course, work with the exposure best I can, because and this was exposed pretty well. So if we just do a split, and we'll just check the fine details here, especially down here in the shadow area, you can see it's not bad. Okay, so the next one here is from John, and I got an email from John about this image. So I'll talk about that, but let me go to the chat section real quick. And see what's happening. So Marsha's here, good to see you, and Kevin, always good to see you, and Robert, good to see you from Australia. You know, Matty Salanto is in Australia now. He's in Melbourne. So I don't know if you guys can get together and do maybe a collaboration. That would be really awesome. I don't know how close Melbourne is to where you are, but I think in Australia, most people live on one city, right? And Glenn says, how do you make the font bigger in Photolab? Please. Oh, I didn't actually make the font bigger. What I did is I just went to my display settings, selected the monitor I'm using, and then increased the scale. So normally I'm down here at 175. So I can go up to 250, and now it's even bigger, right? So I don't know of any way to directly change the font size within Photolab. And oh, Paul is here. Okay, is the infrared sensor related to the thermal imaging sensing defined? Yes. Yes, it is. I'll show you in just a moment. And then good to see you, Jeff. And is it possible to create a control point line outside of the image? No. If I try to click on a control point like out here or up here, you can see it goes to the edge of the frame automatically. So that's the best you can do. A control line, though, however, you do have some flexibility. Control lines you can move outside of the... Oh, you're not seeing the screen. Sorry. Let me reset this image. So what I was showing was control points. If I click outside of the area, you can see the control point drops on the very edge of the frame and not where I'm putting it. Versus a control line, you can start that outside. Move it back in, move it back out. Control lines you do have, you can move it out. Same thing with linear, what do they call it here? Graduated filter. And then these tools I don't think are available in regular Photolab. These are film pack. So I never use these in the live streams until they decide to put these into Photolab. And then the brushing and stuff. Brushing, yeah, it's pointless to brush outside of the frame, right? But you can. Okay. Have I noticed? No, I just installed it this morning, so I haven't. This is the first time I'm using it, 9.9. So I don't know if there's any differences. There are some really nice colors in those leaves, yes. And Glenn says thanks. Okay. So let me show you real quick, Paul. Wait for Black Friday. Maybe this will go on. I'm sorry, Prime Day next week. But this is what I got, the Topcon Max. It's a dual camera, so you can kind of blend. And I'm just starting to get a feel for it. Sorry, I know this is not editing related, but let me see. I tried to record some video. And of course it's not here. So, gallery. Ah, nothing's coming up. I recorded video this morning. I just got this in, so I'm not sure exactly where everything went. But it plugs into, you plug it into your phone, right? And the camera's here, and you look at the screen here. And then I like to flip it around this way, the phone upside down, and do it this way. And it's pretty cool. I don't know if you can see, like I'm here. So the idea being is you'll be able to see red dots in the trees, right, with this. And there's a bunch of settings in this. Like if you want to do like a little more variation in the heat, like this is a little bit cooler than here. But I found the grayscale one, well, not this one, this one. This grayscale one is the easiest to try to see the birds in the trees, because you'll see a red dot in the tree, as opposed to like if I do this multicolor one, it's really hard to see the birds. So I'm going to play with it a little bit tonight and this weekend, and let you know how that goes. But it's really cool in the house anyway. I can almost see through walls with this. It's really interesting. And this is a really good one. This is the best one for the money. I did a lot of research on this, and it's the best one for the money. So we'll talk about that on Tuesday. So yeah, I'll give you a link. But let's go ahead and get back to editing, and then after a couple of images, I'll give you a link. All right, so let me start with this image here. So John was asking me about, he was having trouble masking the sky in between the branches here. So I'm going to see if I can show you how to do that. I would probably do it with control points or a graduated line, okay? I'm sorry, control line. So I'll decide as I'm editing what's best. But first, I'm just going to go ahead and just do a standard preset or default preset to start. Exposure looks pretty good. What I want to do is I don't know if the horizon is crooked or not because we have two hills here. It looks like this is a hill and this is a hill, and then a crooked bench or fence here. So I'm going to use this tree sort of as a way for me to get a straight line, even though trees are not always straight either. Oh, there's a pole here. So I'm going to line up the pole all the way down here. I don't know if you can see that pole. Well, these poles are pretty straight. This one's a little crooked. But I'll just tilt it a little bit. Whoops. Let me go over here to my geometry. And I'll make a note. I should make a note that geometry, you want to do all your geometry before you do any local editing. Because sometimes the local editing doesn't follow, your local editing doesn't follow your geometry changes. So if I were to, make a huge tilt on this like I did with potentially on the leaves that I just edited, the local adjustments I make wouldn't follow and they'd be kind of off the areas. But anyhow, so yeah, I do want to make the sky more dramatic. And I think what John may have been doing is just using the AI tool and then selecting the sky. And as you can see, the tree itself, the way the mask is, like if I were to, let me just pull the exposure down. Just to exaggerate what's going on is, I think what he was having trouble with was how the tree got masked. And of course, that's not going to look natural, right? So let me delete that. A better way to do it in this case, because there's a stark contrast between the luminance values here, meaning the brightness of the hill and the tree versus the sky, it's probably better to use a control line and just come down here somewhere and then move the dropper onto kind of the brightest area in the sky, which is probably right about here, it looks like. And now you can see we've masked all the way behind the trees. And what I might do on top of that is just tighten up the Luma mask just a hair. Maybe not that much. Let's try chroma. No, 50-50 looks good. And then I can bring this down. So you can see I'm not masking anywhere in here. I'm just masking based on luminosity. So that's the way I would do it. And now if I pull the exposure down, you can see that it is darkening the sky behind the tree without darkening the tree itself, right? Now if you do it too much, you're going to start to see, holes in the mask, right, so to speak. But you would never do that, generally speaking. Generally, usually you just want to darken a little bit like that. So what I might do is pull this down a bit, go into the highlights, and then just add some clear view for some drama, just to make it more dramatic. Actually, let me reset the exposure. Let me do it this way. And then I'm going to add some micro contrast just to bring a little detail in the tree. And it looks like there might be a little bit of sun down here. So, or, you know, the clouds are very thin right there, right? So I'm going to use a control point. So let's make a new mask. And I'm going to drop it right on the brightest part here. It's a little bit too big. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a warm glow right in here. Maybe a little magenta. No magenta, just a little bit of a warm glow. And then let's pull up the highlights. Let's try that again. There. Let me select that again. What if I keep going? Like that. And then I'll just adjust this. Just a taste. There we go. And now that I've done that, I can light paint a little bit too, so that the light coming from the back here will spill to the front. Hopefully I can make that look natural. So let me make a new mask. I'm going to try a brush. So let's turn the flow down to, I don't know, somewhere down here around 10. And the opacity to 30. Because I don't want to affect, you know, I don't want to look like I just brushed in light. I want it to look kind of natural. And then I'm going to adjust my brush size and try and have the same thing. Let's, well, let me just draw a quick brush. And then we'll add some highlights and midtones. And let's not touch anything else. Maybe some micro contrast too. And I'm just going to brush a little bit of light on the tree here. And then a little bit on the hill. Yeah, there's no warmth there. Let me just add a little bit to the shadow. Okay. Add a little bit of light here to the foreground. Increase my opacity back to about 50. It's a little bit too subtle. There we go. And a little bit here. And then I'm going to do the opposite and a little bit right here. Okay. I'm going to do the opposite. So let's make a new brush. And this time I'm going to just darken this sort of more dirt area. So we're going to pull these in this way. Just going to brush it in. A bit smaller here. A little bit in here. And again, I'm just clicking the control key on my keyboard, then rolling the mouse back and forth, and just as I'm going along, I can adjust the brush size for the different parts of the image. Okay, a little bit more there. Let me pull the blacks in a little bit more. Probably should have went this way. Yeah. Okay, now this control point's starting to look nasty. Let me back this off a little bit. Maybe make it smaller. I think I need to just do smaller steps. If we want much cooler, no. Okay, this last one. All right, we're almost there. Maybe just globally a little bit brighter. And let's do some clear view. Then I'm just going to go back. Let's just make this a little bit stronger. This one is good. So what I'm doing is with this light painting is just trying to give a little more depth or three-dimensional depth, like layering, right? Foreground to the background. And then this tree could be just a little bit brighter. Maybe get rid of these power lines. Let me do that real quick. So we'll do repair. What if we do clone? Let me try that one more time. Less feathering. Repair. Oh, they need to work on this tool. Because I think what's happening here, it's not taking into account. Yeah, it's not going to work. If I do a little bit at a time. Nope. Okay, that's something I need to talk to DxO about. In this image, you know, getting rid of the power line is not working out too well because I darkened the sky quite a bit. So it's masking, but it's not taking into account that I darkened the sky in the correction. But let me work on this tree. I want to bring out the trunk a little bit more. So what I might do is, let me try the auto selection brush. And I'm going to make this a little smaller. Oops, let me make a new mask. I'm sorry. New mask, auto selection. And we'll just grab a couple of parts in here. Maybe erase a little bit. Yeah, let me erase that one. Okay. And a little bit there. So let's try. And just bring that up. Clear view. And some saturation. Just a very subtle difference, right? Yeah. And then another one. Let's just highlight some of the leaves here and there. So I'm using the auto selection brush. Oops. Like that. Yeah, a little bit there. And there. A little more there. All right, I'm still not happy with this part of the sky. Let's see, was it this one or it's one of the early ones here, this one. Let me try this again. Gradually bring this up. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. All right, so let's call it. Do it side by side. So there's the original on the left, and then my edit on the right. Composition-wise, I didn't, you know, I think it's fine. I didn't need to crop in or crop out. One other option might be, if we want to think about cropping, is let's go over here. I'm thinking like a 4x3 vertical might work too. not so much. So we'll stay with the 3x2. And just come in. So that could be another option for a crop, just to kind of balance the negative space with this tree here. But there you go. But I think the main thing John wanted to know was about how to mask behind and through the leaves of the sky, you know, of the tree to the sky. Okay, let's go to the next one. And let's see, we have some sort of statue. Interesting. Let's apply just the default preset and so we have the feet kind of cut off here. So I'm thinking we want to crop in so I don't really see the bottom of the feet. I think that's decent there. And then you'll notice I got this corner coming in. And maybe a black and white. Yeah, I like that. And I'm going to select the, see if I do people. Okay. It's interesting. It's like, maybe we'll go with a low contrast. Because the textures in this statue are kind of interesting. I'll add some clear view. And micro contrast. Just to really bring out the details. Okay, let's hit the sky. So I'll just do select sky. And same idea, contrast and clear view. And then we can go down here to the color. Let's see if we can bring the blues in a bit. Over here to the I'm not sure about this. Yeah, I'm not digging that. Okay. Okay, I think that's it. So there's the original on the left. That's with the crop, but without the crop, that's the original on the left. So the bottom of the feet, I think, are the problem here for me compositionally. So if this didn't have all this texture, you know, this sort of stacking type look to it, I probably would have went with a silhouette. But because it has this really interesting ribbing all the way around the statue, decided to bring it out. So there we have it. Okay, let's do the next one. And, oh, a couple of bunnies. in front of a little shed or something. So this one I'm going to do, let's do extra sharp, because it's just a tiny bit soft. But I think, yeah, that looks good. Okay. And exposure looks good. We just need to maybe, I'm going to select this and I'm going to do shift and select the other one. So if I hold the shift key while I'm selecting things, it'll add it to the same mask. And then let's brighten them up a bit. Maybe just like that. And then give them some vibrance. Maybe a little extra color. Okay. Let's make a new mask. This time I'm going to work on the grass a bit. Maybe give it a little warmth. And then let's select the, I wonder if I can, let me try this rectangle tool. There we go. I can select the background. And we'll just pull that in a bit. Let's do it from the bottom, starting with the blacks. Maybe even blur it a little bit. Okay. I'm going to try and diffuse it maybe too. Let me diffuse this out. Forget about it. Forget about blurring it. It's not working. It's not working around the fine hairs, so we'll leave it. All right, let's just brighten up the area around the eyes. We're not going to be able to bring out the color too much because, oops, where's my control point? Because they are really dark, relatively speaking. But maybe. Let me take a quick look. Oh yeah, there's some pupil in there. Okay. So let's do this. Back this off a bit. Okay. How about the eyes over here? Okay. Let's spread that out a bit more. And then I'm just going to light paint just a little bit. So brush, a little bigger. That looks good. Just want it a little darker down here. All right, let's see. Okay, the background's too dark. Just pull the opacity back. Rather than messing with the sliders again, I'm just going to reduce the opacity. Okay. Composition is good. It's already pretty tight. I should have done this first. But let's just bring it in a little bit tighter. Yes, square. And a vignette. So to make a vignette, I use a control point. I invert it, set the chroma and luma to 0, and then just start pulling it in, kind of like that. Go up a little higher. Okay. So there's the original on the left and my edit on the right. Basically, whenever I have a very, distinct subject, I always try to make that brighter than anything else in the frame, right? So that your eyes are focused on that. Because over here you can see it's pretty flat. The luminance is pretty much the same. The colors are all different, but the luminance is pretty much the same. The colors up here are pretty much the same. So I had to separate them. I was trying to use the blur tool, but it didn't really work too well in this case. There's another way I could have tried that might have worked, but it's not necessary. And I think that looks pretty good. And then we can check the fine detail. So I'm going to compare with geometry. And just zoom in. Guess this rabbit is as good at any place to look. Maybe a little too crispy, but I am punched in 100%. And then down here, that looks good. If it feels a little bit too crispy, I just have to go to the detail panel and maybe just turn off the unsharp mask. Okay, very good. Let's go to the next one. All right, a hummingbird. You don't see them landed too often. They don't like to sit on a stick very much. But let's go with a default preset. And we will need to crop in. Let's do a square crop. All right, that looks good. And then let's go ahead and select the bird with the AI tool. I'm just going to brighten them up about stop. And then let's go over here and darken by about the same amount. Okay. and go back. All right, good. Okay. Then let's add some vibrancy, tad of saturation, and some clear view. Oh, let's increase the sharpening a little bit. Let me zoom in. Let's see if this... So I'm only sharpening the mask because I'm still in the local panel here, right? There, that's good. And if I diffuse it a little bit. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. All right, let's work on the eye. Whereas it's all the way out here. Ooh, it's not much in there. Not much in there. So I'm not going to be able to bring... Not going to be able to bring any color back, even if I add a little warmth. Yeah, we'll leave it. We'll just pump up the speculars and stuff. Like that. Go back to the mask for the bird. Okay. And then let's add just a little vignette. Just making very fine-tuned adjustments to the exposure on the bird itself. It's a little bit hot. Okay. I'm just going to add one more brush. This area I want to bring out just a little bit more. All right, we'll call it there. So without the geometry, so there's the original on the left, and then this is my edit on the right. So yeah, we had to crop in quite a bit. Again, I like to watch my corners here, and then just the overall balance. And then we can compare the fine details of the split view. So again, you know, I tend to over sharpen, but we got rid of like all of the noise and we brought back a lot of the fine details. It's too bad we couldn't get in a little bit of the iris in the eye, but that's okay. I think that came out pretty good. All right, let's do the next one. And see, this is from Heather. Let's apply, let's do extra sharp again. And the tail feather's cropped off. And we got a horizon problem. Because it looks like you tried to level the fence, but it's you're not exactly parallel with the fence on the plane. So let's straighten this back out. I'm just eyeballing it with the pole here to the edge. And let's see if we can make a little more balanced composition. Yeah, I don't think we need a little more here. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I think that's all we need. And then let's go into the head here. Okay, we should be able to bring out some good color on the eye. Whoops, I need to make a new mask. New mask, now I can do control point. And let's just, if we do it this way. Okay. Just notice the beak. Beak could use a little work. Some clear view. Contrast, okay. Might need a separate control point. Let's add a tiny bit of warmth there. Okay. Then let's make a new control point here. Just bring that in a bit. And then the legs, let's try an auto brush here. because the legs have a little bit of red in them. I'm just erasing the spillage here. Okay. Okay. And then maybe just brush. Let's make a new brush. Right in here. All right. I think the background's okay. Maybe we can just add a little bit of contrast back here. So I'm going to tighten up the luma and the chrome. Like so. Like so. Then color-wise, add a little bit of warmth to the whole image. There might be a LUT that looks really good with this too. These are mostly black and white LUTs in here. Uh, kind of like that one. It's not bad. I think I like, it's either this or the pastel. Pastel or Golden Beauty. Oh, let's do pastel. And then the last thing I'll do is just crank up the blue a little bit. Whoops, whoops. Pastel. Let's put the eyedropper here. Okay. Let's compare those. All right, so here's the original on the left, and then my edit here on the right. So I cropped in because this area here is kind of awkward to me. So I just cropped that out and then straighten the horizon because the background is not straight, right? And I think that worked out pretty well. So if we do a split, let's just do like this. That's the before, and that's the after, and then, you know, the fine details, of course, as always, are really good. Yeah. really good details there. So very good. And then the last one here. Okay, something I didn't do for John's, I forgot to download this optics module. Let me just do that. It's going to make a subtle difference here. Mostly probably to the geometry, because wide angle lenses like this are typically, you know, have some bowing. So that corrected that. Let me do the same thing here. Okay. All right, this is from another John. John Follows, regular here. So this is, I think this is one of your photo walk trails that you always go on. This looks really familiar. We have a biker here. I'm just looking at the accents. Let me apply a preset first. I think just the standard default one. There's an accent here. I like that. And I thought I saw another biker over here. We have this tree. We have that tree. So I think compositionally, I might favor a vertical. Maybe down here. All right, I like that one. What if we put the tree on the left side? Then we get both bikers. This is not bad. This has a little better layering effect. Okay. I need to darken the foreground, accentuate this tree. I wonder if I can select the tree. And a little bit extra sharpening. Get these two bikers with the same, ooh, that one looks a little bit off. That's okay. Let's darken the image. And then try and create some layering effects here. Go back to this tree. Okay. Does that need any color? No, maybe less color. Just a little bit less color. All right, then let me brush in some light. So what are we at? 10, that's fine. I'm just going to highlight these areas around the trail. And a little bit under the trees. That's a bit too much. Bring this down. Okay, let's do another brush and darken some areas. Oops. Right in here. Go back to my brighter brush. Just skim the top of that. Right there. A little bit here. And let's make another lighter brush. Let's use the auto masking brush. I'm just gonna touch some of the leaves on these other trees and bushes. Okay. A little bit too much. Not getting enough here. Just brush in separately. Okay. A bit more on top. All right. Color-wise, let me look. I think a better way to approach this is, let me go back to my this one, this brush. All right, that's good. I'm going to end it there. So here's the original on the left, and this little sliver of sky, just, I didn't feel like it added anything to the scene. I could have brightened up in here just a little bit more. But other than that, that's pretty much what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep the accents of the two cyclists and then have the tree stand out a little bit more in the foreground. I think if we punch in, we're going to see I probably over sharpen the tree a bit, but we can look at it. Yeah, a bit too much on the tree. But I like the textures I got over here. So what I need to do when I'm looking at that tree is I can go back. I think the tree was the first thing I did, right? Yeah. I can go back here and scroll down and just back it off. All right, that's good. All right, very good. That's all I got today. Let me see if anything else came in. So I need to go to that page. Because sometimes I know you guys like to send in your edits. Okay, so Mickey sent one in. I can do one more. So we're at 10:30. I can do one more. And then Paul, oops, hard drive needs to spin up. Paul sent in his edit, so we'll look at his real quick too. Okay. So I want to compare his to mine. So I'm going to set my image to reference. So you'll see a little R down here. And then I can select any other image to compare it against. So I'm going to select his edit. So yeah, we both did a square crop, but I did a lot more editing with the exposure, right? And Paul also, he did a better job with blurring the background more. So you can see he did the blur tool. But because he didn't do a huge change in exposure, the blur tool worked a little better, right? It's not as obvious where the blurring starts and the starts and stops. Whereas when I tried to do it, since I had such dramatic shifts in exposure, the blur tool, the boundaries of the blur tool or any kind of masking really become even more obvious. So whenever you're doing heavy masking or you want very precise masking and you don't want that to show, you don't want haloing, you don't want artifacts, try to minimize changes in exposure and it'll go a lot easier. And this is a good demonstration of that, where you can see it. If I zoom all the way in, you can see it looks really good. Whereas if I try to do it on mine, because there's a strong exposure change here, it would be very obvious where I was masking. Okay, let's see. We have a Corvette, I think, right? So Paul says he blurred the tool using the new bokeh tool in Luminar. Oh, okay, that's nice. I haven't tried that. I have Luminar. I don't think I've opened it this year. Maybe once. All right, so let's do a default preset on this one. Actually, probably do extra sharp, as we are kind of filling the subject. And I don't know if this color is supposed to be this shade of yellow. I'm used to like more orange red type yellows. This is kind of a minty green yellow. And that's probably right. Let me just do a quick white balance. All right, that'll work. This is pretty close to white. Okay, it is a little bit of a minty green yellow. And then let's just straighten it out a little bit. So where's my tool? I'm just going to use this line tool. Oh, there it is. I was looking for it. I was using Lightroom the other day. So I had and the line tool there is very different. So let's go about there. And go over here. I can't really see. Okay, that's good. I just temporarily boost the exposure so I could see where I'm lining. All right, there we go. So we ended up with a 1.64% crop, and then let's do a little tighter. This is a 3x2. Let's do a 16:9, come out this way. I think that'll work. A little bit back. And then I'm going to select the car. Let's add some contrasts, maybe some clear view just to give it a little bit more specular look. Okay. Then let me work on these wheels just a bit. I like some micro contrast. Maybe a push to the speculars. Back off the Luma. Luma and Chroma. So these are basically the feet, right? All right, very good. And let's do a little bit here. Oops, I need a new mask. This one. I think I'll just crank in some clear view and micro contrast. Then let's get this light. Oops, let me drag this over. Okay, do the same thing with the headlight. And then, last but not least, the people in the car. Just use a control point. All right, and then the foreground, use the AI tool. Let's see if we can temper that just a bit. Need to move up a little bit. Okay. Cool that off. Okay, now let's do a little bit on the background. I'll just do it manually. Just to create a little bit of depth in the trees. And then all the people in the front, make a new mask. We just need some small ones here. All right. And a little warmth. How about vibrant? Yeah, vibrant looks good. And then add a little warmth. because earlier I picked this sign which was in the shade, so it was a little bit cooler than I liked, but it was closer than where we started. Let me go back to these people. Don't need them that bright. Maybe just opacity. Okay, let's do a side by side. And we're going to compare to without geometry. So this was a pretty tight crop already, but I had to crop in just a little more to straighten the line or the horizon, because it was just pointed down a little bit. But now it's straight, and I wish I could have kept this area in here, but it's okay. With cars, you can have them very low in the frame. Normally, I like to layer a little bit more, but we already have kind of the layering on this one level because of the car foreground, people midground, and trees background. So I didn't have to layer it vertically. I could just create the depth the way it was and keep the car very low to the ground. And if we do a split view with geometry, I was very particular about brightening the wheels, the headlights, tail lights on vehicles, and then the people inside, if any. And there was a lot of spectators around, but they were all in the shade. So I had to brighten them up. And then I created depth here in the tree line. But let's go ahead and check some of the fine detail. As you can see right here, this wheel, I added a lot of brightness in the highlights and speculars. Oh, he's got some bugs here on his car. Need to get out his with his ShamWow. But again, and I didn't worry about the speculars here. It's okay. On equipment and machinery, I never worry about speculars quite as much because there's no details in here, even if I brought the speculars back in. So I think the speculars are nicer in this scenario. So there you have it. That gives you an idea. But see how they're barely visible here, the driver and passenger, and then bringing them up just like I would with a portrait. Okay, let me check. I need to give you a link too, right, Paul? So let me get that real quick. Okay, so this is for the top-down Max. So there's a link. I'll add it to my deal page as well, because it's something we need to watch. Okay, let me go up here. We have that's cool. You're in Sydney, about a 10-hour drive. Oh my God, 10 hours. Wow, from Maddie Salanto, right? But that's cool. He is there. Good morning, Heather and John. Good morning. Oh, so you are here. So hopefully that demo I did for you, John, about how to mask behind the tree and the clouds, that'll work out for your editing in the future. And Garrett dropped in. Let's see. Hello, Rob. Just popping in to say hello. I'm on vacation. I will send you some interesting photos in a few weeks. Awesome. Thanks for your good work. And bye to you all. Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to it. And really nice job on John's lens. Okay, thanks. There was 2 Johns, though. Which one? There was one from John Gavin, and then we also have one from John Follows. And created a cool moody vibe on the tree. Excellent. Oh, thank you. So I assume you mean the one on John Gavin's, right? I don't know. Both of them, if you look at these 2 edits, right? Let me show you something. I mean, both Johns have a tree on the left side this week. They're very similar composition and everything, right? Anyway, the statue's about 40 feet tall. Okay, so this guy here. Wow. 40 feet. Man, that's got to have some major steel work inside to keep that thing standing in case there's some really strong wind or something, right? And you couldn't show all the feet as it was a concrete base. Yes. I would have thought of, I would have tried maybe a way to try to incorporate the concrete base too, but I wasn't there, so I don't know what it looked like. But okay. And Paula says, this was in my front yard in front of the fence. There are a couple of very young bunnies, only about 6 inches. Oh, wow. So they were small, huh? That's cool. That's why they were so cute, right? And you took this from the window in your house. So were you shooting through glass? I mean, maybe. They were a tiny bit soft. Looks great. Okay, you're welcome. That must have been the turkey. And then you blurred the background. Yep. Oh, it's Luminar Neo, right. And this is a $77,000 car. Yep. Yeah, Stingray. I thought about buying one years ago when I had money, and ultimately I decided, but the Corvettes back then when I had the money weren't as nice as the one that you showed here. They didn't have a Stingray model, I don't think, the year that I was looking. So I went and I looked at Ferraris. But at the time there was a 2-year wait to get a frickin' new Ferrari. So I decided to go to BMW and I bought a V12 BMW, but it was a sedan. But it was nice. It was nice. I ended up with a sedan instead of a sports car because I couldn't. If you get a sports car, it's like, Corvette, Ferrari. These are the coupes. When I think of a sports car, I think of a coupe. And I just couldn't get one that I liked. I didn't like the Corvettes at the time. Really loved the Ferraris. But I ended up with a sedan, of all things. And thanks, Rob. Could be a belated Father's Day. Yes. And Anthony's here. Good to see you, Anthony. And no, you had the window open. Okay. But had my MC14. All right. Yeah, look good. All right. So stay tuned for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to have Maddie Solanto on, and that's why it came to mind so quickly when I saw Robert here as a special guest. It's going to be 5 p.m. my time because Australia is 14 hours ahead of me. So it's going to be 8 a.m. Sunday morning for him, but 5 p.m. Saturday evening for me. So I wanted to schedule it so that it'd be easy for him, right? Because you can watch the stream anytime after I'm done. So you don't have to watch it live if 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is not convenient. Because I know a lot of you are in the UK or that whole area over there, which is about 5 hours ahead of me. So it'd be like 10 o'clock at night, for you guys. It might be too late. But for here in the US and Australia, Japan, those areas, the timing is perfect. So we're going to talk about travel and street photography, so stay tuned for that or come in for that if you can. And then Sunday, God willing, I'll do another live stream, my normal photo chat live stream, but we'll see. I'm really busy this week. I've had a couple of photo jobs and I'm hosting a couple of photo walks and I'm going to an air show. So next week, Sunday, I should have a lot of images to share because I'm taking a bunch over the next 3 days. Hundreds of images. And I mean probably hundreds of keepers. I'll probably take 10,000 images, but I'll have maybe 100 keepers over the next few days. So I'm excited about that. So again, thanks everyone for joining me. You guys have a good day. Try to do that every day. You'll have a good life, right? I wish you guys all the best. And I hope